Hey guys, oh my god, we have to talk about Scandal right now. This show just dropped some serious bombs in the last 30 seconds. But we will get to that in a minute. First of all, let me just start by saying, Fitz, I am no longer a fan. I did not like you at all in this episode, and I am so over you and Olivia. I can't even. You guys have chemistry. I will not deny that. But you are not nice. You are not even a nice person anymore, and I'm over you. So, off the top, the two of them screaming at the top of their lungs, yelling back and forth. Last week, you're screaming at her, you're telling her to shut up in this episode. I'm over you, Fitz. Over you, okay? Then Mellie comes to you later in the episode and she's trying to have a reasonable conversation with you. And you're like, yeah, I don't have time for you. I don't have time for you. You know what, Fitz? I don't have time for you, okay? Done and done with you. Oh my goodness, I wanted to like rip his face off in every single scene. And then at the end when they're trying to play that sweet music between Olivia and Fitz, I'm like, don't you do it. Shonda, stop playing the nice music whenever those two are in a scene together after he treats her like crap 90% of the times whenever they're on screen together before that. I'm over it, okay? Over it. I'm now squarely on Team Jake. I don't even care if I like Jake or not. I just want her away from Fitz. Okay, that was my rant, and I just needed to get that off the top of my chest. Now, for the rest of the episode, oh my God, can I just say, Mellie is probably my new favorite character on this show. What she has done for the Republic, for the presidency, for the governor, for like what she has endured is unbelievable. Okay, so we all know from the past that Fitz's disgusting father raped her, and now, like she said, she's not sure if her son is actually Fitz's or his father's. Okay, and she told Andrew this in this flashback. Okay, so yes, let me just say we got a lot of flashbacks regarding Andrew and Mellie from back in the day, and she initially wasn't really feeling his advances towards her, but he was always very sweet to her. He always like was there, hearing the conversations that were going on between her and Fitz when he was being a dick. But also at the time, Fitz didn't know why she was pulling away from him because obviously what Mellie had gone through with his father. So, you can understand Fitz trying to understand what was going on, but all all that Andrew knew was they were not getting along. Then we find out that Mellie tried to kill herself by popping a bunch of oxycodone pills, and Andrew found her and saved her and literally stuck his finger down her throat and saved her life. And that scene when she's on the stairs and she's like, do you want me to thank you for saving my life? Do you want me to thank you for sticking your finger down my throat? Do you want me to thank you for sitting up all night talking to me? Do you want me to thank you for... I was just like, oh man, like it was just so well done. Mellie, I mean, Bellamy Young needs an Emmy nod because she is brilliant in every single scene she's in. And she kills it. And she killed it in that scene. And then afterwards, she was just like, are you happy? And like when she told him the truth about like the father, oh, gross. And then she was just like off. She went up the stairs and you're just like, oh my goodness. Like that fact that he knew and he knows this piece of information 14 years ago is crazy. Okay. So fine. So Mellie was amazing in this episode, and she looked amazing when she was in like that salmony peach colored dress. Damn, okay, she looked amazing. And finally at the end, I guess she just couldn't resist her urges. And I love the scene because Andrew's looking at the president's wives, and it's I think it was Carolyn Kennedy, Jacqueline Kennedy, yeah. And she's like looking at the picture on the wall. He's looking at the picture on the wall, and he's like saying how stunning she is, and I could just reach out and touch her. And he's like, and then Mellie's like, you can't touch the first ladies. And then he basically looks at her and he said, what would you do if I kissed you? He's like, oh yeah, that's right, I can't touch the first ladies. And then Mellie starts to walk away. And then, boom, she comes back and she kisses him. And so it wasn't the greatest kiss, but it was a passionate kiss. And it was, something that obviously been building up over the 14 years because there was another scene in the flashback when, after she talked to Miss Olivia, I will get to that scene later. But when Olivia was trying to say that they're the same and they understand what it's like to cheat on somebody, blah, 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 blah. And Mellie was like, honey, we are not the same because unlike you, I kept my knees together. And so when they have that flashback and you see he walks into that room and, she's disappointed because Fitz is in Connecticut or somewhere and it's just the two of them. And he's basically saying how happy he was to see her alone and, because people are always around. And then she's just like, oh, I was happy to see you too. And then there's this moment where they're kind of like, looks like something might happen, and she just gets up and she walks away. And, I'm sure that that took a lot back then, knowing that, she hadn't been with her husband probably in a while because she's so disconnected because of what happened to her. And she's starting to feel something for this man. So, wow. Mellie's backstory is just getting juicier and juicier. And Shonda, thank you for just giving her so many layers, because you could have just written her off as the woman, like the wife of the president, who's just like a cold and mean, and, she's getting what she deserves with this affair. But there have been so many times where that woman has turned the other cheek, and it is just nice to see that somebody is, wants to be around Mellie and wants to tell her how much he loves her. And so I just love that. Then we had some scenes with, of course, what's his name? Oh my goodness, I'm totally forgetting. I'm blanking on his name. Anyways, Harrison. Oh, goodness. And he was hooking up with Adnan again at the beginning of the episode. And right before she leaves, she opens up this briefcase and there's like probably $100,000 in there. And she's like, I need you. Like, she doesn't say actually where it needs to go. He's like, no, I'm not doing this. And she's like, I didn't even tell you what I want you to do with the money yet. And then he's all like, I'm not doing it. And she's like, well, I'm sure this is the part of me that you don't miss, right? Because they already had sex, and I'm sure that he's loving that part of her. So we find out, because he makes a phone call to the grant administration, and he says he'd like to donate $100,000 to the grant administration. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. And then Adnan shows up at this dinner that they're having, and this is when Cyrus first meets her. Now, if you remember back at the beginning of season 4, Harrison had gone to Cyrus and was like trying to beg him not to let this woman into the country. And what did he do? Of course, he granted her visa. So this is the first time she's introducing herself to Cyrus, and he's like, who are you? And she's like, I'm Adnan. He's like, well, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. You're a criminal. And like, hello, pot me kettle. And then she's like, well, I know you need a whole lot of donor money, blah, 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 blah. And he just kind of gives her this look like, I don't know where you're getting your money from, but I don't want to know. And I'm going to save that juicy little detail until the end, okay? Because if you've seen the episode, what? So the woman that Adnan Salif is working for is Olivia's mother? What? Oh my goodness. Okay. So, this is going to get crazy. So then we also had Hollis showed up in this episode, and he was going to, give some donation money to Sally Langford. But when he sat down with her, she was completely going off of her rocker, which is rightfully so, because she murdered her husband, and she's having all these flashbacks because they're still working in the office where she killed him. And she's having like these visions of him laying there bleeding on the ground, and she's freaking out. And Hollis is kind of like, honey, are you all there? And so he's weighing his options. So now he looks like he's going to move over to the grant administration once again. And of course, when Fitz sees this, he's like, I don't want Hollis anywhere near this. So that was very interesting. Okay, so then we also had some stuff going down with Quinn, and oh my goodness, she has been staking out Rowan, and she's been doing this on her own. So she's basically freelancing here because B16 hasn't hired her, and Charlie won't let her work on the case. So she was kind of tailing Charlie, which then led her to Rowan. So now she's been stalking him and trying to get some footage on him. And at one point, he's having dinner with Olivia. So Olivia and him the dinner's not going well, and he gives her another one of his like wagging finger conversations, and Olivia gets up and walks out. And as she's walking out, she notices Quinn sitting in the car with binoculars. So she goes into the car, and she's like, Quinn, what are you doing? B613 will destroy you. You cannot work for them. She's like, come back home, come with us. And she's like, oh yeah, because everybody's really ready to welcome me with open arms. She's like, Huck doesn't even want me there. And she's like, I want you there. And then he's like, and I'm so glad she brought this up, because this, if we all remember when Huck was torturing Quinn, he just did, like, he licked her face, and it was just so disturbing. And so she brings it up to Olivia. She's like, he licked my face. She's like, did you know that? Did you know that he licked my face like I was a piece of meat? And I was like, thank you for addressing it again, because that scene was so, like, disturbing on so many levels that it's not something that she's just going to easily forget. nor should she. And the fact that Olivia hears this finally, it's like, yeah, this is who Huck is, okay? So while they're in the car, Olivia's like, listen, you need to just come back home. And she's like, get out of my car. And she's like, I'm not leaving. She's like, get out of my car. And she pulls a gun. That's right. She pulls a gun on baby Pope, okay? See, we got Papa Pope, we got Mama Pope, and now we got baby Pope. So, what? You're pulling a gun on Olivia? Okay. This is when you know Quinn is off the reservation. And she literally says it again, get out of my car or I will shoot you. And Olivia's face is just turning into sheer worry. So she finally gets out of the car and she goes about her business. Oh my God. So the one storyline that is completely driving me crazy is James. James, you knew that going up against your husband Cyrus was going to be a difficult task. So stop complaining about it and stop whining about it and stop talking about how you're going to be found out. It's like, shut up. You're so annoying right now. Like, you knew that this is what it was going to be about. You knew that this was a dangerous thing. You're literally talking about like revealing somebody who murdered somebody else. Of course this is going to be like dangerous. He's just annoying. So of course David gets involved, and which means her Abby's going to get involved because she's, doesn't want anything to happen to David again. And luckily she intervenes, and she, I guess, was able to figure out that something was going to happen that night. And her and, was it Huck? I think so. Her and Huck, or her and Harrison, end up putting a bag over his head and throwing him in the trunk of a car, which was really cute because, well, I mean, that wasn't cute, but what was cute was him getting on the phone and calling Abby. And my first thought was, why wouldn't, like, whoever kidnapped you take your phone? Because obviously that was the first thing you were going to do. So, duh, when the trunk opened up and Abby was standing there, cute. So he's in the trunk of the car and he's all like, I should have told you earlier this morning that I love you, and da 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 da. And she's just like, well, good, I'm glad you're saying it. So that was really sweet. And of course, we had some more stuff going on between Jake and Olivia. And of course, Jake has now basically realized the full weight and responsibility of being the head of B613, because he gets, these two men come into his office and they hand him a briefcase and it's got all these classified documents in it. And it's basically telling us, now that you're the head of B613, this is these are all these classified missions that are currently in process and what's going on. And then they're like, yes, you have, you basically have a contact inside the White House that will reveal himself to you, and he will give you daily updates or something, blah, 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 along the lines. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, who could that be? Like, what? So later on in the episode, of course, Quinn, because Olivia went to Jake after Quinn basically pulled a gun on him, and she was like, why would you put Quinn on this task? Why would you put Quinn on following my father? He's like, listen, first of all, I didn't. And second of all, you can't tell me to do something, then tell me how to do it, and blah, blah, blah. And he fully schooled her. And then he was like, and third of all, you need some food in your fridge. And I was like, that's right. If you're going to be her beard, that's what he's like, if I'm going to be your beard and come home to this house and there needs to be some food in this fridge, she's like, because red wine and popcorn is not what is going to sustain me. And he starts taking off his shirt, and this is when I'm like, Team Jake. So she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm going to go shower before we have some fake sex. And I was just like, that's how absurd this relationship is, because he's even like, poking fun at the absurdity of it all. But this is the role he's willing to play for the sake of the Republic, and let's just go with it. And I'm glad that the show's at least making fun of it, because that's what we're all going like, what kind of man would do this? Like, this is ridiculous. So anyways, so now, so Quinn shows up at his office and he's all like wagging his finger at her like, listen, you are not going to be part of B613. You are too you're too inexperienced. You're too this and that. And then boom, she emails him a picture of Rowan working with, Leo, who is the campaign manager for Sally Langston. So now Jake knows that Rowan is trying to spill secrets to Sally Langford, and obviously now he's going to be on his trail. So, Quinn, this was Quinn's way of saying, you don't think I'm good at my job, huh? Well, maybe I don't think you're good at your job because your people couldn't find this information out and I did. So I guess check for Crazy Quinn. I don't know if we should be applauding that, because she is just... I will say, though, that her and Charlie have this very sadistic, kind of cute relationship going on right now. So I'm not mad at that, because I think it's kind of hilarious that they're both cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but they totally work together. I don't know what it is, but I do find that they have chemistry and they totally work together. So of course, Jake now, at the end of the episode, finds out who his spy is, and it's Tom. What? No, Hal. Tom. One of the two. The one that we all like that has been guarding Fitz since day one. He's the one that's been privy to so much detailed information regarding Olivia and Fitz. And he's even standing at the door at the very opening of the scene. And I should have known when I saw him because we haven't seen him in many, 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 many episodes. So the fact that he was standing there, I should have known. So when he walks in and he hands Jake the envelope, he's like, "You're B613?" He's like, "Yep, I'm your man inside." And I was just like, oh my goodness. So there you have it. He is the spy inside the White House. We have Mama Pope getting some money deals going down. So clearly they're going to try to say that, like, Fitz got money from some tainted source. Like, oh my God, this is just going to be bad, bad, bad. Adnan Salif is in on this. I mean, come on. Ooh, and then we had a great scene between Olivia and Huck. Because all episode, Huck has been giving Olivia like a cup of coffee. And she keeps giving him this look like, and she's not saying anything. So then he comes back and he's like, "I brought you coffee." And she just is like, and then he does it a third time. And she's like, "I don't drink coffee." And he's like, "Well, coffee's what you bring when you're trying to apologize to somebody." And then she tells him, "You went too far." And he goes, "No, you went too far. You knew who I was. You knew that I was a monster deep down inside. And this is me basically at my full potential, not potential, but at my full, like, I'm not going over the line. This is me at the top of the line. Like, this is who I am. This is what B16 made me. And you knew that." And he's like, "And then you made me love somebody. And then you made me, what did he say? He said, "You made me love her. Then you made me train her." And then it's like, this is who she is. And now you're mad. And he's like, "You went over the line." I was just like, oh man. Like, everybody was kind of schooling Olivia but in this episode, because even when Mellie like ripped a strip off of her, rightfully so, when Olivia came in and was basically calling her out on the fact that Andrew was covering for Mellie all those years ago when she was the one who took the drugs. She was like, "Whatever's going on between the two of you, it needs to end." She's like, "I know that sounds ridiculous coming from me, but it needs to end." And I was like, "Olivia, that does sound ridiculous coming from you." And she's like, "You and I are not the same because at least I kept my knees locked." I was like, oh no, here we go. More shaming, more shaming. And so now at the end of the episode, of course, like I had already mentioned, Olivia and Fitz are in the office and they're going through some briefings, and then he's like, "Okay, let's talk about this tomorrow." She's like, "All right, fine." So she starts to leave. He's like, he's like, "Wait, I need you to stay." And she's like, "But we're not talking." He's like, "I want to talk about us," basically. And the question that he poses to her is, "Do you have feelings for Jake?" And she's like, she doesn't say anything. And he's like, she's like, "Oh, that's none of your business." And he says, "I know. Do you have feelings for Jake?" So then it cuts. And this is when we see Tom or Hal give the document, this yellow envelope, to Jake. So he puts it in and he's watching it, and it's of course security footage. And do you remember way back when this was like when they had a flashback scene, or this was when Olivia and Fitz were seriously hooking up in the Oval Office right after he became president, and he said to Fitz, "Oh yeah, every day I'm supposed to watch that video footage and I erase anything that's not important." And he's like, "Yeah, I didn't see anything that was important." So clearly back in the day, he was handing that information off to somebody. Well, guess who that somebody was? That's right, Olivia's father. So now he's handing this information over to Jake, and it's like, oh no. So of course the conversation is about him. And what does she answer? She just says, "I really don't know. I can't tell you right now." And that's her answer. Like, she didn't say yes, she didn't say no, but that is the truth. And all I know right now is I am not enjoying Fitz. And I don't know if the show wants us to hate him, because I do. Right now, I do. I don't think he's being nice. I don't think he's been nice for a while. There's that part of you that's like, "Oh, these two have such great chemistry on screen together." And it's like, let's not mistake that for them being right for each other, okay? Because they're not at all. And today just sealed that for me. So we'll see where this show goes from here. It was another great episode, guys. I like those last few bombs dropped on us were great. And I just can't wait to see what happens next. All right, guys, that's it. That's been my long, lengthy review, but I can't make these scandal reviews short. I just can't. Sorry, guys. All right, let me know what you thought. Leave a comment, subscribe, like. Tell me if you think I'm completely off my rocker. If you're loving Fitz, if you're loving all the other stuff like Crazy Quinn. Like, I mean, I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. But it is just... See you guys next week.